Chuck, you're not doing the speed limit. You're nowhere near doing the speed limit. The real funny thing, when I first got my license, a good friend of mine, he lived in Delaware, and he grew up in Delaware, and he lived in New Jersey. Or was it New Jersey? I can't remember if it was anyway, he worked on the boardwalk. He worked at a couple restaurants, and then he worked at one that he was doing really, really good at. He was enjoying himself. And this friend of mine, I met him through Xbox Live way back, I'd say around 2007, 2006. When I met him, he was still in middle school, and it was a friend of mine, and we all met on Forza 2. It's an Xbox game, Xbox 360. When my friend introduced me to this kid, I remember this kid. He was this cocky little kid who was still in junior high, but he was hilarious. He had a great personality, and we kind of became really good friends. I mean, his last name was the same as my mother's maiden name. And we kind of joked that we were related somehow distantly. And there was a period of time where we kind of called each other, like, legitimately, brother from another mother. And he was kind of a little guy. I mean, he was kind of a little guy. He wasn't very big. And I remember when he first got his license, he got his first bike. He did the MSF course, and when he told me he got his first bike, I told him, "Oh, dude, I've been wanting to get one for a while too." I said, I just didn't have the money at the time, and he says, "Dude, you can't wait." So he bought that. It was a Katana. It was a Katana 600 was his first bike. It was I think it was a mid 80s, early 90s maybe Katana. Anyway, I remember the first night he had. Someone ran him off the road. It wasn't the first night of him riding, but it was the first season for it. He was on the Beltway, and it was raining, and a lady merged into his lane. He went over onto the median to avoid her, and went to slow down. Well, the bike hydroplaned. And he spun around. The rear end of the bike cracked the barrier wall. Luckily, he didn't fall. He didn't get hurt. The bike took all the damage. So after that happened, he just that looked like a helmet. After that happened, it sat for a couple years. He was a little gun shy, which obviously I'd be the same way. I would I'd be willing to take a break too. And plus, he was 18 at the time when this happened, and when he went back to school, he went back to school to be some type of medical assistant. So he did that for 2 years. He ended up dropping out of it because this was at the time when he started working at this one club on the boardwalk. And he sat and did the math and said that in the time it would take him to equal the money he was making there, it wasn't feasible for him to finish school. Because I guess he was making some great tips because, I mean, he was really Mr. Personality. I mean, he was a really good kid. And I remember the day I passed the MSF course, I took a picture of the card they give you and sent him a text and sent it to him. And he replied back, he goes, excuse me, he said, "Congratulations, man. Welcome to the extremely odd and weird culture of brotherhood, but everyone's real judgmental of what you ride." And that really kind of hit a note when I read that. And I didn't like, dude, surely, I'll find, there's got to be other people out there. Not everyone's like that. And I mean, for the most part, I found people that don't care, but it's amazing how many people still divide themselves up. And to kind of put everything in perspective, why I kind of wanted to talk about this was we're coming up on something that happened literally like 4 days after I got my license. The same friend I was telling you about, his name was George Campbell. I can't remember his name. It's George Campbell III. 3 days after I got my license, and we were talking back and forth, and was kind of planning on. Last year, my main plan was I was going to take a bike to Baltimore, and that Sunday after the convention, I was going to split and meet up with George, and we was going to stay the night and ride around most of Monday before I went home. Well, 4 days after we were setting up the plans, I came home from, I woke up that weekend. It was July 3rd, I think it was, or July 2nd. I started seeing these posts on Facebook with George's name being mentioned, saying, "I can't believe this happened. It can't be real." So I was kind of confused. I sent him a message, no reply. So I did a little more research, reached out to his sister, and his sister told me that he was in a really bad motorcycle accident. And the details wasn't really known right then. I kept following it, found it. Finally, someone posted the news report from the accident, and the report said that the guy that was on the motorcycle that was in the accident was pronounced dead at the scene. What happened was someone at an intersection went to turn left and crossed his lane of travel. She didn't have leading green, and I have no idea what was happening. I mean, for the most part I understood George was a pretty safe rider, and he just bought a new bike too. Anyway, the lady proceeded to turn into his lane of travel, and he couldn't stop. He went over her hood. I have no idea how fast he was going. I know he was heading home for the 4th of July weekend, because he told me he was that's the last thing we talked about, that he was getting ready to go home for the 4th of July weekend. It was the first time he actually had where he could take that day off, because he had enough seniority that and plus he was head bartender, and he was in charge of doing the schedule, so he scheduled himself off for that weekend. So anyone that knows me and known me for any period of time and remember me from last summer, why I kind of just backed off of buying a bike. That was the reason right there. I was kind of distraught when all that came down, and I seen the outpour of his girlfriend and his mother, and it was pretty rough. So I decided to cool my jets till this summer, and this is kind of the reason why I want to ride to Baltimore this year, because I'd like to leave a day early if I can, but I already turned in my vacation. So the only time I can really do it is if I leave that Sunday, run up to I want to go to the grave. I want the closure, because last year that was going to be the first time we was going to meet in person, and it never got to happen. So the way thinking kind of is in my head right now is I want to go up and get that closure, I want to meet his family and sister, his mother. I know it's probably not the best thing to go riding up to visit a friend when a mother lost her son to a bike. But I think it's something that needs to be done. Anyway, guys, thanks for listening.